wanted to talk about playing over the changes. Yes, the arch nemesis. I'm not a big fan of just practicing all the different ways that you can learn to play over the changes, as I've kind of reiterated on this channel, and I still get asked this question. How do you, when people ask me, how do you play over the changes and all that? I say, learn the melody first and play over the melody. That's the most important thing. Having said that, yes, everybody does have to learn how to play over changes. And the first thing that you have to be able to do is you have to be able to hear the changes. Either one of two ways. Either you have really good hearing, in which case you can tell that I was doing a 2-5 chord progression, the key of C, D minor 7th, to G dominant 7 to C major 7. That's great if you have that kind of ears. Or the alternative is to actually use formulas. But remember, the first step is hearing the chord changes. So in jazz, there are basically, I think, variations of a theme, but they're primarily only three big chord changes. The first one is the 2-5-1 chord progression. Okay, so in this case, it's the second chord, the fifth chord, and then the first chord. And the chords that I'm referring to is when you harmonize your scales. So, for example, in the key of C, the scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Each of the notes has a corresponding chord to it, okay? And it has what I would call a degree of that chord, either major, minor, and everything is seventh in jazz, and then or diminished. So in this case, the one chord, and that's what we're referring to when we say 2-5-1. So that's the most important, I would think, the chord progression formulaically that you can learn to play is the 2-5-1. The other one is a 1-6-2-5, and there's variations of that. The third one is a 1-4-3-6 chord progression. So for those of you who can't memorize or can't hear chord changes, if you follow this structure and you hear a song, it's 9 10 times it's going to have one of these formulas to it. So you know what to expect once you learn how to harmonize your scales and you know what key you're in. So first thing, and this is one of the most important lessons to me, is to learn how to harmonize your scales. So in the case of C, we have these 7 slash the eighth note, C repeats itself. And so the first note of the scale is a C. That's always a major 7. So in the case of jazz, that's a C major 7. Second note is the D, the scale, and that's the second chord or the 2 chord. That's always a minor 7. In this case, D minor 7. And the third one is an E. That's also a minor 7th. E minor 7. Fourth is going to be a major 7 like the first. And that's going to be an F major 7. The fifth is going to be a dominant 7. That's a G7. And then the sixth is a minor 7. That's going to be A. And then the seventh is that B. That's going to be a diminished. And that I'm doing that B minor 7 flat or fifth I'm playing here. And then back to the eighth, which is the 1, which is C major 7. So again, slowly. 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7th chord, and then back to the 1 chord or the 8th chord in this case, right? And to simplify it, think of it this way. The 1 chord is always a major 7. So in the case of C, that's a C major 7. The 4 chord is always a major 7. And if you want to extrapolate the 8th chord, which is like C again, the 2 chord is always a minor 7th. And the 3 chord is always a minor 7th. So in this case, the D minor 7th and the E minor 7th. Now, what's left? The 5 chord is always a dominant 7. So in this case, it's the 5th note of the scale. That's a G dominant 7. And then the 7th chord, that's that B minor 7 flat or fifth that I played. So it's some form of a diminished chord. Okay? So get that down. Once you get that down, then you can start working through the 2-5-1 chord progressions, the 1-6-2-5, and 1-4-3-6. Those numbers will make more sense to you. They are referring to the chords within the degree of the scale. Most of jazz is formulaic from that perspective. So, and what kind of songs have this? So, for example, 2-5-1 chord progression is Autumn Leaves. that's in the key of B flat major 7. Okay, so in that one, it's a C minor 7 to F7 to B flat major 7. Okay, so that's the two. And one of the things I did, and I should probably talk about this, listen to the bass notes of 251. We're just going to really focus on 251s for the purposes of this. So you've got Autumn Leaves, that song, a song in there. And to be honest with you, 251s are all over the place, right? And again, this is the first step to being able to play over chord changes is to hear the chord changes or to figure out what's the next chord that's coming up in this chord progression. And like I said, memorize 251, 1625s, and 1436, right? So one of the things as I focus on 251, what I was doing is, listen to this, which is just the bass note. That's a 251 in the key of C. C, G, I'm sorry, D, D, G, C. So the 2 chords are D minor 7th, the 5 chords are G dominant 7, and then the 1 chord is a C major 7. Now you can hit this the exact same way this way. 2 chords, D minor 7 here, that's what I was doing. The 5 is a dominant 7, that's the G7, and then C major 7. But listen to the roots. So D minor 7, G dominant 7, and C major 7. And one of the things I like to do, if you probably notice, if this doesn't look like that, I play 3-note chords a lot because I like to play, finger style stuff and free up the notes. So I'm not playing. That's very full and can cloud it up a little bit, but this gets the essence of it. Okay? So that's what you do. So that's, to me, is the most important thing, is getting your fingers under the changes. 1625, and touch on that a little bit. A good song that has that is My Shining Hour. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. And that has an E flat major 7. It's in the key of E flat major. So E flat major 7. Then C minor 7. Then the F minor 7. And then the B flat 7. So again, E flat major 7. Listen to that. Boom, 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 boom. That's a 1625. And that too has a 2-5 in it. So it's basically okay. Again, E flat major 7th, C minor 7th. Okay. And then the last one, another song too that you can look at. So My Shining Hour, you can look at Oleo. Look at the chord changes in Oleo. There's a little bit variations on that. And the last one is a 1436. And just by example, 1, C major 7th, 4, F major 7th, 3, E minor 7th, 6 is an A minor 7th. Okay? Just work through that stuff. So before you start trying to blow over changes and figuring out ways to play over chords, and I'll tell you the secret, learn the key that you're in and learn the hell out of that major scale of that key, because you can play that scale over all of the notes. Okay? And then just pick out the color tones in it. I think that's the easiest way if you really want to outline chords. You're basically learning arpeggios. So if we all play that way, we're all going to sound exactly the same. So yeah, so you can go. That's how we would sound. That's just a B flat major going to E flat major. So, good exercise, but that's not how you really want to sound like. Okay, then. Sorry for the long message. The first step to playing over chord changes is being able to either hear them if you're gifted, or in the alternative, learn the formulas and then pick some songs with that on there and practice the hell out of them. Thank you for watching. Practice and practice some more.